Welcome to the Matt Cutrer Report. These are the extraordinary stories of ordinary, everyday individuals. Today's guest is from Kerrville, Texas originally, but came to San Angelo and became one of the best hairstylists around. His addiction would drag him down, and he would end up doing time in Safe P. But he would find redemption. Listen to this man's story, who now works at the state school. Ladies and gentlemen,
Here. Thank you
cool,
for asking
dude.
me.
So I want to hear your story, and I think the audience will find it fascinating as well, interesting, inspiring. So before we jump into any of that, though, address the audience, tell them who you are, what you do, that kind of deal. Elevator pitch.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. So my name is Justin Schatz. Currently, I work at the San Angelo State Supported Living Center that's in Carlsbad, Texas. I was a hairstylist for roughly around 33 years, and I retired from that, and then love what I do now.
Yeah, awesome. Are you looking to elevate your brand with custom headwear? Custom business hats. For high quality, customized hats. Perfect for any business need. Whether it's for company branding or distinctive merchandise, we ensure that your brand gets the attention it deserves. Plus, we offer free quotes to help you get started. Visit our website at custombusinesshats.com. Custom Business Hats. We've got you covered. All right, cool. So where did you grow up? I don't even know where you grew up.
Well, I was a military kid.
Oh, you were?
So I was born in Pensacola, Florida.
Your dad or mom was in the military?
My
Both?
dad was in the military.
In the mom.
Yeah. My dad was a 28-year veteran. He spent 7.5 years or 5 tours in Vietnam as a medic.
Okay.
He was a corpsman, so he was always in field and stuff like that. We moved around quite a bit, about every 3 to 4 years. However, I kind of base myself from California.
Okay.
But I got to Texas as fast as I could. You know, it's one of those
Yeah.
type of things. Yeah, my dad was from Chicago. My mom's from Ohio, just at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, practically. She was what we called a hillbilly.
Yeah.
So,
really?
Yeah, she was very country. My dad was very
her family
city.
like that?
Oh, yeah.
So you have extended family still there? Or?
I have extended family all throughout Indiana and Illinois. I have a lot, my dad being from Chicago, I have a lot of cousins that live up in the south side of Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah, he grew up in, back in his day, it was mainly an Italian neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Okay. So you are a recovering addict. That's
I am a recovering addict.
Yeah.
Yes.
In NA. So how long do you have right now?
Okay, so currently, this Friday, I will pick up 3 years.
Oh, wow, man.
And that's alcohol and drug-free, no mind or mood-altering substances. Thank you very much. I've worked hard for that.
Yes.
I've been off the drugs for since 2020.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it right at 5 years for that.
So you were still drinking? Are you
I got out. Well, see, I was on probation initially from the when I got arrested for my drug charges, and I went to CRTC in San Angelo, which is what brought me here. I'm originally from Kerrville, Texas. That's where I got my cosmetologist license. That's where I built up my career there. And I dabbled off and on. But I always was using something.
Yeah.
Always was using something. And then I went through the death of my mother. And then I went through a separation from a partner that I was with for 7 years. And then I had the death of my father. And each one of those instances brought me further and further into the addiction until it led to intravenous use and things like that. And so my time ran out. and the law caught up with me, and it was a blessing in disguise at the time. Of course I wasn't ready. I didn't want it to happen. Anyway, so they sent me here, and I did a program here known as CRTC. And when I graduated out of that, I became a local in the community, and I started managing a sober living home here.
Nice. Which one? I didn't know that.
It was one of the Gloria's houses.
Okay.
It was on the Jefferson Street. It's a big yellow house.
Yeah, I know
there.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived there for a while. I eventually moved out with my roommate. She was also my sponsor, which wasn't.
You had a female sponsor?
I had a female sponsor, and now that I've been in the program and now that I've worked the program, I don't suggest that.
Why is so? Let me tell you something real quick. So there's a female that she was a big part of what was the meeting called that was in the Butterfield building? That was real big for a while. What was it called?
That was
why can't I think of the name either?
Oh my gosh. See, it's right on the tip of my tongue too, because I currently my home group is Living Clean, and I also am involved with the Evolution group that's here in town too.
Man, I want to ask you.
But
anyway, that group, she was very big involved in that, and every time she spoke, I just kind of connected with what she said. And I had never had a sponsor, and so I was thinking about asking her until somebody told me it's kind of frowned upon. You don't really want to do that. So what was your experience like with a female sponsor?
The whole reason why I picked a female sponsor is, as you know, I'm a homosexual. I'm gay. So everybody was like, well, since you're gay, you can have a female.
Right, yeah.
And so I asked her, but see, as an addict, I'm always looking for the way I can manipulate things into what I want. And I kind of thought that maybe I could do that with her. And I did.
Yeah.
But she was playing into the game with me in a sense.
I want to know, you just said that you would manipulate things the way you want them to go, but do you do it intentionally, or does it just kind of happen because it's your nature because of all the, the way we live when we're in drug use?
Yes. I think it became a habit, and I think it became, a means to an end.
Yeah.
Because, you're always struggling to get that next high, that next fix, that next whatever. And sometimes drug addicts will go to extremes and do things that we never would normally do.
That's right. Yeah.
And that means manipulating our friends and our family and the people that we think are gullible or weaker than us or what have you. Or we can play a good sob story, whatever the case may be. And so I thought, well, that's perfect because, she's a female. She'll relate to me and blah, blah, blah. But what I did come to find out is no matter what my sexual preference is, I'm a man.
Yeah.
I think like a man.
Yeah.
I don't think like a woman.
That's right.
I don't like to sponsor women. I've had them ask me.
Oh, wow.
And I
have you ever done it? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I have. And they've not really, sponsees come and they go.
Yeah.
And it just depends on how hard they want to work a program and how dedicated they are to changing their lives.
Yeah, for sure.
So for me, what ended up happening is eventually I relapsed.
Okay.
I was on probation, and I was failing UAs.
For what drug?
For methamphetamine.
Is that your DOC?
Methamphetamine was my DOC. Okay. I thought it made me look skinny and it made me look better, and it did none of that. I convinced myself of a whole slew of things that helped me to continue to progress in my addiction. Well, anyway, probation wasn't happening, and I was serving my probation sentence here under the supervision of Tom Green County. However, my probation was at
Kerrville.
Kerr County. Yes, exactly.
Kerr County, yeah.
So, they sent me to Safe P.
Man, that's right.
Yeah.
And I remember when this happened.
Yeah.
And
that's right after we had met.
Yeah. And I was like, man, are you kidding? He's got to go, because I thought it was 6 months, but then it ended up being you were in county for like 2 or 3 months, and then it was like 9 months in Safe P or something?
Well, yeah, because normally Safe P is 6 months, but because I'm a diabetic, they sent me to a special needs Safe P, which is more designed to deal with people that have, illnesses and things like that. So they sent me there.
Yeah.
I was there during COVID. Wow. It was
explain just what Safe P is, just a little.
Okay,
briefly.
so Safe P is a Texas through the penal system through state of Texas, and it is a rehabilitation or a drug rehab that is in a prison. So I was at what was known as the Estelle unit, which is a medical unit in Huntsville.
Okay.
And I went through that. And a lot of people say that SAP is harder than regular prison
That's
because
what they say.
we have rules.
Yeah.
We have to get up on time. We have to do this. We have to do that. We have to go to classes. We have to pass the courses. We have to do all the things that normal rehabs do, but you're on guard.
How was it there? What was your experience like?
Well, let's just say that when you're on the other side of a 20-foot fence with razor wire on top and you're staring out at a life completely taken for granted, and you know that the very next step, at least this is my experience, the very next step for me was going to be prison. Right. Yeah. And I was going to go for a long time. Sorry, I got like an itch right on my nose. Anyway, so
wow,
it wasn't a fun experience. Of course, the like cockroaches and there's mice and rats because it's open air. There's no air conditioning. There's none of that.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's very uncomfortable because it's very humid in East Texas, Southeast Texas, and so it was miserable. And it's not meant to be nice.
Yeah,
it's not meant to be cushy.
Right.
It's meant to make you not want to ever go back. Well, it worked.
It did?
It
So
worked.
what about just as far as the actual programming? Was it good?
The programming is decent.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that it's the best because my programming was done during COVID. So we weren't allowed to they didn't allow outside people to come in to teach the courses and stuff. So it was a very slimmed down version of it. We actually ended up running the classes ourselves, and I enjoyed that part. I really did because I'm not afraid of a crowd. I did musical theater for years in my life, so I'm not afraid of doing those type of things. So anyway, I graduated that program. I came back to Texas. I pearled out to a friend of mine's home.
Okay. In San Angelo?
Well, it's actually in Grape Creek.
Okay.
And these friends of mine were drinkers. They were supportive of me and all that, but I'm my own man. I could live my own life as I choose to. And I decided that I could get by with just drinking. So I started drinking. I was doing it off and on, but the meth is going, I'm right here. I'm right around the corner, Justin. Just give it a couple more days, maybe today's the day, and it keeps tapping on your shoulder. They talk about addiction being like a monkey on your back. Well, mine's a gorilla in the parking lot doing push-ups, waiting for me to come out. And so I was sitting out. I had this is so ironic because I had started watching a documentary about Bill W., who had founded the AA program. And he was one of the founders of the AA program. And I was watching his documentary and I started drinking while I was watching it because,
What did you have, a beer or like liquor?
I had everything that was open in the house.
Dang.
So I had wine, I had beer, I had liquor, I had schnapps. I just was mixing everything all by myself. Nobody was there. They were out of town for that at that day. And this is the 3rd of July of 2022.
Okay.
And so
how long had you been out of Safe P?
I'd been out of Safe P. I'd gotten out in February. Well, I got out of Safe P in February. Then you moved to a halfway house. It was in Austin, which by far was the worst experience of the whole program.
Dang.
Because in the halfway house, you're dealing with men who are paroling directly out of either federal institutions or the prison system just here in Texas. And they're on the one side of the building or the campus. And then you have the guys that are coming out of guys and girls that are coming out of Safe P on the other side. So we still have a program to work.
Okay. Yeah. And they don't.
But they're over there doing drugs. Smoking what they like to call Tucci, which is like the synthetic marijuana.
Like K2 kind of?
K2,
yeah.
Tucci, whatever you want to call it. And you can smell it all in the building when you come out. So it's very difficult coming out of rehab and all of a sudden you have this, it's literally across the hallway.
Yep.
So I finally completed that. Oh my God!
That's
by the
crazy.
Skin of my teeth.
Yeah.
Because I just knew for me, my luck had run out. And I'm not a big believer in luck, but at that time I did. So I came back and that was in June. I started drinking.
Yeah.
And this is how quickly it led to me realizing something was wrong.
Like how long after that you were watching that
I'm watching that documentary. I started
drinking.
drinking. I passed out.
Okay.
I woke up the next morning and I probably had the worst hangover I've ever experienced.
Dude,
and
yeah.
I was a professional drinker.
Oh,
I'm
really?
Irish, Scottish, and German.
Well, I was going to ask you that if you ever had a problem with alcohol.
I never thought I had a problem with alcohol. Now my ex told me I had a problem with alcohol because when I wasn't doing drugs, I was drinking. And I could drink like
crazy
I used to say, I
amounts.
was born to drink.
Yeah,
it's in my genetics, you know, which is ridiculous. However, so I was drinking, but I hadn't drank in a long, long time. So the effects were very strong on me. Anyhow, I woke up the next morning, it's 4th of July, and I'm super hungover, and I'm with the gentleman that I'm living with. His wife was working, and we're riding around and we're picking up fireworks for the kids, and we're getting alcohol and food for the bing and beer and so on and so forth. And we go back to the house. And they're barbecuing. They've got a bunch of ice down, and they're making cocktails. And the kids are in the street, and they're popping fireworks, and they're having so much fun. And these children are just beautiful, and they're just experiencing something that I remembered from my childhood being so wonderful and magical to me.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in this chair watching this, and I am so sick. And the grown-ups at this get-together were telling me, hey, just have one and you'll feel better.
Little hair of the frog.
Little hair of the frog or hair of the dog or whatever you want to put it. And you'll feel better. And I knew they were right.
Yeah.
But I was sitting in this chair and the thought just spoke. It just came to me. And I'm sure this is my God speaking to me. I just said to myself, I'm done.
Really?
I'm done. I don't want to live this life anymore. I'm sick of it. Look where it's gotten me. I came from having my own business, my own home, a wonderful relationship, friendships that had been over 30 plus years, and a clientele that was making me a large amount of money. And they watched me fall from grace into my addictions. People backed off and moved away, as they should, for their own protection. Right. My business, I practically gave it away. I was driving a cute little Mercedes convertible, the whole bit. You know, I thought I had all the things, and I did, but I was inside. I was broken, and I was miserable. I had a very hard childhood that I didn't know how to deal with what had began in early childhood, plus the shame, the guilt, all the remorse of hiding who I was through high school, and so scared that people would find out and I would lose my family and everything I knew. And I mean, I don't think people can understand, unless they've experienced this or something close to it, what it's like to hold that in. In the early 80s, when I moved from California to Texas, Friday Night Lights is the biggest thing. That's the environment I was living in. And the biggest fear I had at that time was that. And so when the people who we called stoners were nice to me and offered me, let's go get high, I found someone who I could be cool with. And so it just ramped up from there, and it just kept growing and growing and growing throughout the years of my life. And I don't want to blame anyone or anything. I grew up in an alcoholic-fueled, very violent home. My dad didn't know how to deal with what he had experienced in Vietnam. He didn't talk about it. He just got drunk and beat people up. Especially my mother.
You were physically abused.
It was physical abuse. It was mental abuse, emotional abuse. There was sexual abuse that was not by my parents. That was done by a family friend who eventually my father married into that family.
Oh my gosh.
So there was all these weird twists and turns that happen to normal people, but normal people learn how to handle those things and reach out for help. I didn't know how to do any of it. So fast forward through all the other things I'd spoken about, and I make this decision. I'm done.
I wonder what it was like, but when you looked around and you saw life going on around you.
I saw something that was so beautiful, but I was so not able to be present.
And it reminded you of a feeling that you had when you were young?
I just was having memories of when I was younger, and life was innocent to me then. And, and I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and things were different. And I felt safe at times back during those holidays. The holidays were safer than they were the normal times. And I just thought, I can't even be here to enjoy watching these children enjoy this. I'm so wrapped up with my life being ruled by the state of Texas and my bad choices and sadness and despair and sorrow. And I was feeling like my life was over, and I was only 49 at the time.
Wow,
I'm 52 now. I'm about to be 53. And I just was like, I really truly believed I could not rebuild my life. My time had come and it was over with. My career was over with. My body wasn't working with me. My eyes were bad due to the diabetes. I could not see clearly.
Yeah.
My hands were beginning to shake somewhat because of withdrawing from different drugs. And but the most important thing is my belief in myself and that passion I once had in this was gone. It was all gone
completely.
I allowed the drugs to strip it from me.
Dude, I just got goosebumps because wow, that's wow. At my lowest that's something I haven't really processed, was the point at which I reached where my confidence was fully stripped, and that's my confidence is a big part of who I am, and so for it to be fully stripped and just kind of lose my identity like that is the only way to describe it is hopelessness, you know.
And I've watched you grow since I first met you, and I've watched you build up your career and you build up doing things that you truly love. I knew that you always did because you had such a passion for working out and all of that, and you had the gym and so on, and I knew that about you. I always admired that about you.
Thanks. Yeah.
But internally, when I was sitting in those meetings and I would see you, I would go, man, you know, this guy, God, he's got all the things that I used to dream about having and being able to do, and still he's struggling too.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so we come from all walks of life, and we're everybody and everything. We're the average Joe to the guy that's out there making $1 million, doing what he's good at and doing what he loves.
Yeah.
And I was doing that. I was successful. I was damn good at doing hair. I was very good. And you've seen the product of my work.
I know. Yeah.
And things like that. I was so passionate, and I had everything. I had the life that I couldn't dream of. And I did. People always say like, I lost it or this and that. I didn't lose anything. I gave it away.
Yeah, exactly.
One needle at a time, one bag at a time, one joint, one drink, whatever you know, because I used it all. Yeah. You know, and you say DOC, what do you got?
I know, right?
You know, that's kind of what I was one of those guys. So anyhow, I make this decision. I go back to what was my home group all along, which is Living Clean at the FOR building off of Pecos here in San Angelo. And I started going back to Narcotics Anonymous meetings. And then I was in a small meeting. There was a gentleman in there that I knew. I'd always hung on what he said, you know, because he spoke truth to me. Yeah. And so he's so opposite of me. This man is he's a biker, you know, he's a truck driver. Yeah. He's as masculine as masculine can get. And I'm still in this fear over my sexuality that, oh no, he'll judge me. He'll think this way.
That still happens?
Matt, that's never gone away fully until I've begun to work a program of recovery.
Okay. Yeah.
Because in that program, I asked the man to be my sponsor.
Wow. Okay.
And he said, go home and pray about it to your higher power. I'm going to do the same. Call me tomorrow with your answer if this is what you truly want. Yeah. And I called him back the next day after having taken his suggestions and doing so. And it wasn't a prayer. I believe God wanted nothing to do with me. Yeah. God couldn't love me because I was gay. All the hype and all the things that people fill your head up full of because that's what they believe.
That's so good.
And you know, I grew up with my grandmother's God, my mother's God. Yeah. I found out through the process of working a program, my God as well. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. I had to be okay. I had to learn that that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I could be a follower.
Right.
And be okay and not be ashamed that Jesus is my higher power and to be able to claim his name. Absolutely. Oh, dude, I'm a Christian man at heart, but I follow the fundamental teachings of Christ. Yes. And not all the psychobabble of how people want to interpret things. Yeah. I believe in the Bible. I believe that it's historical.
Me too.
I believe all of those things. And I just didn't believe Jesus loved me unless I changed. And it destroyed my life for years and years, living under this belief that other people had given to me. Yeah. I didn't create it myself. It came from other people. I adopted it.
Whoa.
And I held on
yeah.
to it.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about is, they say that people with addictions, there's some kind of void, that's was created for whatever. They're missing something and they try to fill it with all kinds of different
And that
things.
was it.
Was that it for you, really?
God was it.
No, but I mean, I know that, but like, was it the shame and what people filled your head with? Like,
right. Absolutely.
Was that
I mean,
fueling that?
it's incomprehensible
Yeah, I
to be able
bet.
to understand unless you've experienced something like that, how devastating that can be.
Yeah.
I went to a church when I was a teenager and I was highly involved and I loved it very, very much.
Yeah.
And when my sexuality began to really develop and blossom in me, I went to my pastor.
You did.
And I shared what was going on with me. And I shared how I was struggling and I was praying until my knees were flat for God to take it away from me because I didn't want this in my life. I wanted to be like all the other boys. I didn't want to be different. I didn't want to be ostracized or cast out. I didn't want any of that. And the pastor asked me to, step away from the church until I figured it out. And I was devastated.
He asked you to do that?
He that was his suggestion.
Wait, to me, it's like, is there any difference with somebody who comes to the pastor and says, I've committed adultery, and you tell them to step away from the church?
Yeah, tell them, get out.
Right? Like,
you get out and you figure it out.
Yeah.
Sin is sin.
That's horrible.
And if you feel that your calling is to preach the gospel, but yet you're going to turn members of your flock away when they're reaching out. I mean, I felt like a member of this flock. I went on Wednesdays, Sunday mornings, Sunday nights. I was in the Royal Rangers. I was a part of all of that. Yeah. And I believed in it.
Yeah.
But I also believed, and I believed even stronger, that I need to be true to myself and my identity. So what did I do is I moved away from the church. I left the church behind. I left Jesus behind.
Yeah.
I went out to seek a life that I felt more comfortable in my own skin. And I found that.
Yeah.
However, the shame never really left. I carried it around like a badge of honor or a blanket I could hide under or the closet I needed to get back into.
Whoa.
All of those things.
Yeah.
And then so the drug use came in and it helped me to not think about it.
Yeah,
Never let go of it. I just don't think about it right
Yep.
now. I think about getting high and getting more and getting high again and all the deviousness that comes with being an addiction because I was a man of very low character as I was when I was an addict. I don't feel the same about myself now.
Yeah, exactly.
All I know is that I made a humble, honest prayer to the God of my understanding because I had to come to the understanding that Jesus loved me no matter what anybody else thought, because that's all he's ever said he would do.
Yeah.
He never said anything else. And he never spoke against homosexuality. I know that. Now, the Old Testament and other parts of the Bible, they do. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But Jesus didn't.
That's right. Yeah.
And if that's my man. He's my bro. He's who I reach out.
Yeah.
So, I do this prayer and we start embarking on.
When was that though? Whenever you decided to pray and asked Jesus and felt that love and decided, okay, that is my God of my understanding,
I knew that was my God of my understanding all along.
Okay. Yeah.
I really can't give you like a pinpoint date of when I actually did it. I know it was a process of letting Jesus back into my life. And allowing myself to truly believe. I did stumble. My sponsor had asked, would you be okay if we work the steps of Narcotics Anonymous, the 12 steps, through using our faith as our guide?
Nice.
And I agreed to that. I got really wrapped up again in what certain passages in the Bible say. And then I went through the whole, can I really be a Christian if I don't adopt all of this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And am I being a hypocrite?
Right.
Because I don't want to be that. I'm trying to be my true, authentic self. I didn't know who that was when I first got clean. I didn't know it. The 25 years I'd been in and out of recovery, going back and forth to rehab, because I've been to rehab multiple times.
Yeah?
I have tried to get clean. The first time I walked into an NA meeting, I was probably 19 years old.
Whoa.
I got in trouble for drinking on the dam when I was a teenager, just doing normal teenage stuff that we did back then. I don't know if it's normal. It's what we did. The group of people I hung around with.
Yeah.
Anyway, So this time was just different. This time I was going to put myself 100% into it, regardless of what was going to happen, how it was going to play out.
Yeah.
And I worked, excuse me, I'm sorry. My phone went
No,
off.
you're good.
I worked really hard on finding who I was and working those steps as honestly and as truthfully as I could. And if I didn't have a God, by the time I hit the third step, I can't proceed.
That's right.
I can't proceed if I don't come to believe that there is a God out there who can help me back into sanity.
Exactly.
Because I was insane.
Yes.
And at first, I used to fight that every time I went into recovery. I'm not insane. I just do dope.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
What's that about? That's a lie that I kept telling myself to help shield my addiction.
Yep.
See, I was protecting my addiction, and I didn't realize I was doing that.
We do that with justifications.
Yeah. All kinds of crazy stuff. Oh, you don't know the child that I have.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or going into recovery and thinking I'm sitting in a room full of struggling addicts who their instances and the particulars of their life may be different from mine. However, addiction is addiction. Exactly. And you and I, though we're so different from each other, can understand that. And that's what brought us together as friends, to become friends, to know each other and understand each other on such a fundamental way.
Yeah.
That you get me.
Yeah.
I get you.
I know. That's what's so crazy to me. It's like, for the longest time in meetings, I had a hard time relating with people who, had really horrible backgrounds. They were, selling their bodies for drugs. Just, you name it, and
I did that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And it was hard until I kept hearing the over and over in the meeting before it begins. I forget what it is, but it's concentrating on our similarities rather than our differences.
Exactly. And the similarities is that we're addicts and we know pain.
That's right.
And we know struggle and we know what it brings and we know loss and we know defeat, guilt, shame, remorse, all
and that's universal
of those
for
things.
all of us. So we can relate on, like you said, 100%. That fundamental level.
That's universal for the grandmother who's popping pills because they make her feel better. And she's convinced herself that she needs them. For the CEO who's having a glass of scotch after he's closed a deal, whatever, and he's convincing himself that he's earned it. But he didn't earn the one in the morning that he's having or the one at lunch that he's having. Things like that. We all do that. And I saw that I was positively unique when I first came into recovery. Nobody could understand, especially in this room, because I'm the only gay guy in this room. They can't get what I've been through.
Too.
Absolutely, they couldn't know the pain I feel. They don't know the instances. They don't know the circumstances behind that pain. They don't. They may not be able to relate on that, but they understand pain. Yeah,
exactly.
And emotional pain.
Yes.
And so once I decided that I wasn't so unique, that I was more like these people, these women and men and young people and old people who are struggling to maintain sobriety and live a life that is forced by spiritual principles, trying to be honest, open-minded, and willing to do the right thing. Quit being selfish and self-centered because that's the core of an addict. My core, I only found out through working the process, is I had a people-pleasing need. And I would do whatever you needed me to do just so you'd like me or tell me you like me or validate me in some way, shape, or form because I didn't know how to do that for myself.
Oh, interesting.
And I didn't know how to let God do that for me.
Oh, that's even bigger.
Right.
Whoa.
Right. So my life is now driven by God. My choices are. And it's taken a while, but in the 3 years that I've truly been a part of recovery, I can be in a room of Narcotics Anonymous, but not in recovery. I can be working a program, but I'm not in recovery. Recovery is when we are beginning to actually change. We are beginning to actually get new spots. For this old dog. I learning new tricks.
It's not
so
just
to speak,
abstinence from the substance.
Metaphorically. It's substance. It's not just I'm saying I'm doing it. I'm doing it, and the proof is in my actions and my deeds.
Right.
And people see it long before I do.
That's right. Yeah.
And they'll tell you that.
Yes.
I'm seeing you change. You're different.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people tell me that now.
Yeah.
I think my job that I currently have now has really boosted my empathy and my compassion
I bet.
and my patience
Uh-huh.
and my love, my ability to give love.
That's cool. Yeah.
And not need to receive it back.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Or not have some stipulation or desire to have something from it. You owe me now.
Yeah.
It's not driven by any of that because I've learned to love myself.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I've learned to trust my God.
Yeah.
I've learned to realize that no matter what the outcome of any given situation, say I'm trying to get a new job or I'm applying for a new position at my job, which I've experienced that, and it doesn't turn out the way I want, that's the will of my God, that it wasn't supposed to work out.
Right.
And if it does, it was. All in recovery, I've experienced losing a job. I worked for Journey Recovery Center.
Oh, you worked for Journey?
I did work for Journey, and I loved it. No, I was just a regular direct care staff. Just almost like I am now.
Yeah.
I worked directly with the detox patients, which is in the trenches, watching them fighting themselves out of such a black hole. And it's it'll change you. Watching these struggle of these men and women just for that part. See, my detox was rather easy.
Yeah.
I was locked up in a jail cell. I didn't have a truck. I didn't, if I started moaning and groaning, the other inmates were going to be like, shut up.
Exactly.
Buck up. We don't want to hear it.
Right.
They don't even got time for that. But anyhow, so I've learned how to be able to do those things. And I only did it by actually working the steps and looking to what was important to me and not worrying about what you thought of me because of what I found important and not needing you to validate me. And allowing things to happen.
I'm on the same path. Like I'm trying to get to where you are now. And it took you what? You're 49 when that started happening?
I was 49 when I made the choice.
I'm 39 and I'm just getting to it because I have the big people pleasing thing also. And I'm just now getting to the point where you're at. Like I'm behind you for sure. I feel like you
I find that I please people now more than I ever did.
Oh, really?
And I get more accolade for things that I never would expect someone to come up and say, "Attaboy, you did a great job." Because I don't need the attaboys anymore. I don't need a pat on the back every now.
Right.
Do I want them sometimes? Absolutely. Right. Is that still part of my character defects? Of course it is. And do I work on it daily and pray about it? Yes, of course I do, because I have to do that.
Yeah.
In order to really get something out of it. It's been an amazing journey of self-discovery. It has been the best decision I've ever made for my life because I did realize a long time ago, my addiction was about choices. I chose
it is.
When my partner, Brian, of 7 years, walked out because he felt as though I wasn't hearing him. I didn't care about it. He was not.
Oh,
he was not. Did he drink and use?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But he had been very successful. But in my mind, I was doing so well in Kerrville, and we had a nice home, and we had money in the bank, and we could go and travel and do the things that we enjoyed to do. And we had this huge friend group that when he sat down and told me, honestly, they're your friends. This is your hometown. Yes, they're nice to me, but I want more for us, just to have something that's just us.
Okay, yeah.
Can we try? And I dug my heels in.
Yeah.
And he eventually told me, after the breakup and once we began to start talking together, that, you listened to me, but you didn't hear me.
Yeah.
And that hit like a ringing of a bell.
Yeah.
Because I had to, I could either try to defend the position I had always had that, yes, I did. And I did everything for you. And it was all for you. And I love you and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But that wasn't true.
Yeah.
That wasn't true. I did it because that's where I felt safe. That's where I felt comfortable. And I felt like I had an upper hand because I was in control.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know how to control their lives, that was the most control I'd ever had. And I didn't want to give it up.
Ooh, that's right.
So he forced me to.
How?
He left.
Oh,
And he found
but-
himself a new life, and he found himself a new partner, and he got married, and he moved on, and he's experienced all these wonderful things. And it took me he broke my heart to realizing I chose to let my heart get broken.
Exactly. Yeah.
I could have said, good for him, good riddance to bad rubbish, whatever the case may be.
Right.
I could have been honest with myself and said our relationship wasn't perfect. And I wanted to stay where I was, and he wanted to move and grow.
Yeah. That's the
And
truth,
so what
isn't it?
he did, today I can say that I'm happy for him.
That's cool. Yeah. Do you still talk to him?
Yeah, I do.
Nice.
This was an understanding I came to myself, as I kept saying, I loved him so much. I'd do anything for him.
Yeah.
If that's true, if that's truly true, then I need to be able to love him enough to let him move on, to be with someone who he loves.
That's hard to do, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh my God. To
seems
make that
impossible
choice, to be able
sometimes.
to turn that around in my head
Yeah. Yeah.
and in my heart.
Yeah. And be genuine about it.
And
Yeah.
I am genuine.
That's
I don't say those
cool.
things without actually,
Yeah.
I'm genuine.
Wow.
It's
amazing.
it's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we message back and forth.
Yeah.
We don't really have phone conversations.
Yeah.
He's in another life now.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to interrupt that.
He's in a
I don't-
relationship and everything?
He is
Yeah.
in a happy, committed relationship.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
he's moved to all kinds of different places and had all these wonderful
Cool.
experiences.
Yeah.
What have I had? I've had
Man,
destitution,
I know, right?
degradation,
God, I know.
dereliction. I've had all of these
Dang.
things that I brought upon myself because I couldn't deal and be honest with my emotions at the time. Today I can do that. I've experienced being fired from a job that I loved because I allowed my mouth. My dad used to say, you let that big alligator-sized mouth override that hummingbird-sized ass all the time. And I do it. And I still struggle.
Yeah.
And so I did that. I lost a job. I was evicted from my apartment and my car was repossessed.
Oh, no.
All within 3 weeks of it.
When was that?
That was in January of 2023.
Okay. Yeah.
So I
this
had
was
a
after
year
Safe
clean.
P?
I had a
Okay. Yeah.
It was after Save P.
Mhm.
I had almost a year clean.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite a year. That was in January.
Yeah.
I lost everything. My sponsor helped me walk through that
Yeah.
and stay clean
Wow.
and to put the emotions and everything in its right place.
Uh-huh.
To put it on paper,
Yeah.
give it to God, and let it go. Let it go, not eat it up in my head
That's
every
right.
night while I'm laying in bed trying to sleep and thinking,
Yeah.
I should have done this. I could have done that. I would have done that had I had that. Those shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
See, that's the thing is addicts, we don't know how to do that. What you just said, put it on paper and put the emotions where they're supposed to go.
Yeah.
Like some people learn that earlier and we just never learn it unless we have a program or something and someone teaches us. You
Right.
know, it's so
what
crazy.
got in my way from being able to do that was not only just the addiction, but because I had alcoholic parents who set it down.
What do you mean set it down?
They set down the alcohol and they didn't go into 12-step program. They didn't have
Really?
to have that. They obviously had some sort of inner strength to be able
Wow.
to do that.
Yeah.
Come to find out, my father's inner strength was Jesus Christ.
Whoa, wait, come to find out. You didn't know that?
Well, no, he didn't
Whoa.
share those things. We didn't go to church as a family. He did after my mother passed away. He started getting back into church.
Wow.
After he and I built a relationship up the first time I went into rehab,
Uh-huh.
and we didn't talk, we didn't communicate, we didn't see eye to eye. I invited him to this family part of the recovery program that I was in, and basically it was for me to lay down the law and draw my line in the sand,
Really?
and I did so.
You lay down the law. What do you mean? What
Well,
happened exactly?
Laying down the law, what I meant by that is my father knew I was gay,
Yeah.
but I had been not being myself around him. I'd been I created this persona that I thought he wanted to see. I never
interesting,
spoke
yeah.
about my personal life.
Yep.
I never shared anything. So consequently, how can you get close to a person
Exactly.
that you're living this superficial relationship with?
Yep.
I loved him. He was my father. He worked hard and he provided for us so
Yeah.
well. Look, I may have grown up in an alcoholic home, but I grew up in a beautiful, clean
Wow.
home.
Yeah.
I never wanted for nothing. The lights never went out. We never went hungry. The water was never turned off. None of that ever happened.
Nice. Yeah.
And it was on my father's single income.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
how they did it. But, it's a different day, different
Yeah.
time. Anyhow, so I just told him, I'm not going to do this for you anymore. I'm going to be myself. If I you demand that I respect your wife. Well, I'm going to tell you, if I get a partner, I'm going to demand that you respect him too.
Mm-hmm.
And because you know what? I'm 30 years old right now.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
And if you can't handle it, that's on you, not on me. I'm telling you what I expect as a man.
Exactly.
And I'm shaking. I'm nervous. Inside is like jello inside.
Wow.
Right? And he stood up, and this is this stoic, hard-ass man who didn't show emotion. Mm-hmm. The only emotion I'd ever seen come out of him was for his granddaughter, and that she could do no wrong.
Yeah.
Until he had to do the tough love because she got into drugs as she got older.
Yeah.
So it's like this family genetic. But anyhow, so he stood up after having said all this, and I thought, well, there he goes. He's going to leave. He's out the door. He ain't going to put up with this bullhack. Mm-hmm. He ran around this table, and he picked me up, and he had huge, like crocodile tears coming out of his eyes, just plopping out of him. And I'd never seen him cry. I'd never seen anything like this. Nothing. Like he and my mother didn't really speak either.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a cold home.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It was cold.
Yeah.
I didn't think he wanted to be, but that's just who he was.
Yeah.
And he picked me up in his arms like I was 5 years old.
What?
And he told me through tears, chokes me up every time. Every time he's told me, I'm so very proud of the man that you are becoming.
Wow.
And I melted into his arms. In the room, I look around the room, and everybody knew through group sessions that we had together in this rehab how I felt. And the whole essence of the relationship that we had had. Yeah. And so they're watching this. Whoa. And they're all bawling too.
Oh, dude,
and
that's
he set
incredible.
me down and he said, son,
whoa,
I promise that I will do everything in my power to treat you with the respect that you have given me.
Yeah.
Because you had to respect him in our home. That was a non-issue.
Exactly.
You're going to do it or you get the hell out.
Yeah.
You're old enough, whatever. When I had come back, because I took off to Los Angeles when I was a teenager.
Oh, really?
Dropped out of high school, told them I was going to be a movie star.
What?
This is a funny story. Yeah, so I'm going to be a movie star. I'm going to go to L.A., and I'm not going to share my money with y'all because y'all drugged me out to Texas.
Yeah.
And, of course, I didn't use the word y'all. I've adopted that since all the years I've been here. And so I did.
Dude, how old were you?
I was
17 or
17.
Yeah.
I dropped out of high school, got a job, saved all my money, bought a plane ticket.
Whoa.
I moved in with my brother who...
He was already in L.A.?
My brother lived in San Diego.
Okay, yeah.
Which is where we had moved from. My brother was homosexual as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, polar opposite. I'm the fun-loving party guy. He's the dutiful, working, paying his bills, responsible. He's only 5 years older than me, so he's 22.
What I remember a lot of is you sharing about your brother in a couple meetings.
Oh, two of them.
One of them I don't think is gay, and you recently kind of connected with him more and were talking to him and stuff.
Well,
is that the other one?
And I'll share that in just a second. So anyhow, I take off, and my brother Jim takes, and he helps me come out. He helps me find myself. And so I'm in LA and I'm totally in this completely welcoming and nurturing environment to learn how to be myself. So when I met some people there and I got involved with the meth and I found the way I chose to like to do it, which was injection through the needle. I did it a few times for about a month and it scared me.
Why?
Because I liked it. And I liked it a lot. And I didn't want to be a junkie. I knew way back then I didn't want to be a junkie.
Did you start off by snorting it or smoking?
I started out by snorting it. Smoking it wasn't popular back in 1990.
Yeah.
Back in 91. It wasn't popular.
What happened? Because this always is interesting to me. Like, where was the jump? Like, what happened to make you go from snorting it to injecting it? Like,
okay, so I met these two individuals,
this
couple, and they invited me over to their house, and I did a line, and they pulled out the needle, and they said, you've never experienced anything like this until you do it this way. And I was scared to death.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. I don't want to do it. And he said, no, it's okay. We'll do it for you.
Yeah.
We'll do it for you.
That's usually
there was an experience that happened afterwards that, well, I'm not going to go into detail about it because it's doesn't need to be talked about.
Yeah.
This
fair
is
enough.
say.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so I really liked it.
Yeah.
I really had a great time. And
Wow. So from then on, you kept doing that?
I did
Or-
no. I
No,
did
not
it while
really.
I was in LA, and then I moved back home.
Mm-hmm.
My dad gave me an option: either get a job and pay me $400 a month in rent, or go to school, and I
Yeah.
will support you while you do it,
That's
whatever you
very
choose.
fair. Yeah.
I ended up choosing beauty school.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
That's how I did it. My mom suggested it, and I went down and looked at it. I was given a scholarship, and I went.
Nice.
That's how I did it. So when I dabbled in drugs again, especially meth, I would snort a line, and then when I really got back into it after my mom had died, I started smoking it.
Okay.
It had become popular. At first,
I
it was
see.
smoking it on tinfoil.
Whoa.
Because it wasn't as strong as it became. It
Oh,
got stronger and stronger. And see, I would go on it, get off of it,
Okay.
drink and smoke pot.
Yeah.
Go on it, get off of it,
Oh,
drink
I
and
see.
smoke pot. I
Uh-huh.
went through rounds and rounds and rounds of it because I always knew it was too much
I see. Yeah.
until it got to the point where I couldn't get off of it.
Ooh, yeah.
The
okay.
addiction had led me, and they always said, you haven't hit your not yets.
That's right.
I hit my not yets.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not to the
Yep.
point where I don't have to do it every day. Well, not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. That's
Well,
right.
now I do.
That's right.
So I
yeah.
got through all of this. Anyhow, so when I got out of rehab this last time, and when I got clean, I moved into the Williams house, which is through the ADAC,
Yeah.
and it's their men's sober living house, and I lived there, and I had started searching for my oldest brother.
Oh.
He was the one that was like, he was my buddy. We were buddies.
Yeah.
He was 10 years older than me, and he taught me everything, and every drug I ever took, I took with him for the first time.
Oh.
And, you know, he was just that brother.
Uh-huh.
Me and Jim fought.
Oh, because y'all were closer,
We
like in
were
age and
closer
everything?
in age,
Yeah.
and he was one kind of gay, and I was the other kind of gay. And
yeah.
he was always like, "Get your shit together and do the right." Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to swear.
No, you can. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I try not to today. Anyhow,
That's cool.
so I started doing searches for him. I couldn't find him. Nobody knew where he was, so I began to search obituaries. I knew he had lived in
Oh.
San Antonio, and I knew he had been a maintenance man for the Driscoll Hotel,
Okay.
which is the oldest hotel in the state of Texas.
Whoa,
It's also
nice.
claimed to be haunted, which is a little fun
Oh,
fact. Anyhow,
cool.
I couldn't find him. I couldn't find anything. I was calling hospitals. Nothing.
So your parents didn't? No one.
My
knew,
parents had passed
Oh,
by
both
this
of them.
point, so
Oh, okay.
I'm in recovery. I'm in Angelo.
Okay.
I'm good.
And your other brother had no idea where he was either.
No,
Okay.
they were totally estranged.
I see. Yeah.
My brother Jim in California does not respect the drug use. He will not have.
Oh,
He
right.
will not communicate with us. My father was the same way.
Okay,
If you
yeah.
want to get high, you want to be on drugs, don't call me.
Yeah.
Don't call me when you're in jail. I won't bail you out. I'm
Right.
not buying you anything. I'm not giving you money. Stay away.
Mhm.
You want to get clean?
Yeah.
Anything you need, I'll be right there to
I
help
mean,
you.
that's fair, dude. Yeah.
It is fair.
It really is.
You know, of
yeah.
course, I was like, you son of a bitch.
Right, yeah.
How you be like, you're my father. We
You
built
son
a
of a-
relationship, you
Yeah.
know, every time. So,
Yeah, that's so funny.
how dare you?
I know.
And feel totally justified feeling that way. That's the funny part. So anyway,
crazy.
my niece and I had began to rebuild our relationship. She had gone to prison over drugs. She had spent 6 years in prison.
Whose daughter is this?
This is my oldest brother's daughter.
Yeah, obviously. Okay, yeah. The other one's gay. Yeah.
She, ironically, she and I got arrested on the same night
Really?
in Kerrville.
Weird.
I was in a kick the door in situation.
Whoa.
She was in I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time situation,
Yeah.
already on probation for something else.
No.
So yeah, they violated her and
Mm-hmm.
sent her to prison, and she spent 6
Ooh.
years, and she successfully got out, and she's totally changed her life around.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she
Oh, that's
lives
so
in
great to
East
hear.
Texas. She's living with her mother. She's happy. She's got
Cool,
a
man.
fiance now.
Yeah.
She's not involved in drugs or anything like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I just love her to pieces. Anyhow,
But real quick, kick the door in situation. Were you involved?
please
in
come
some,
marching up the stairs with riot gear on.
Were you
and kick
involved
the
with
door.
some like selling of like
Well,
a lot of or
yeah,
somebody who was?
at
or,
that point in my addiction, I had become
Really?
I was dealing because it was the only way I could support my addiction.
Mhm.
So you
Wow.
know that was a means to an end.
Yeah.
I wasn't some major plug.
Yeah.
At one point, I got in real heavy, and then I began to back away because it frightened me.
Yeah.
I knew I was too deep. I was too heavy. I wasn't this thug that I was
Right.
making myself out to be. I wasn't that. I
Whoa.
was just shaking, quaking kid inside
Yeah.
my skin in a 40-something-year-old body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Emotionally. Anyhow, so they came, kicked the door in, and that's how I was arrested
Dang.
initially.
Yeah.
And I spent a year in county jail.
Whoa.
So this has been
In
a
Kerrville?
process in Kerrville. This has been a process of me coming to all of this, and it all, see, it, you get these time in between arrests, these time in between rehabs, and then all of a sudden it just comes in quick succession. Because I had also created a name for myself. I was in a small town.
Yeah.
They knew me from when I was successful, and then they knew me when I became a dealer, and I was falling. So the cops knew too. Because I lived in a small town, everybody knew me.
Whoa, that's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was.
They saw both sides.
They saw every side of my rise and fall, and so I had reached out to my niece's stepfather. She suggested it because she didn't know where to find him either. And I'm on the phone and I call him for the first time, and he says, "Well, wait." He said, "Your brother's here right now." And I said, "Where?" And he goes, "Right here. He's in my living room."
What?
Yeah. This is God.
Whoa,
this is God.
Dude. Yeah.
It can only be God.
Yeah.
And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, but he's not good, Justin." My brother had been fiercely independent. He doesn't like people. He was just a grumpy Gus, you know, as he got older through his addiction.
Okay.
His own addiction. See, he struggled with it just like I did, but his forced him to become a recluse, where I was wanting to be the life of the party until it got so bad that I did become a recluse, because you can't get high the way I was getting high and be a social.
Right.
You just can't do that.
No. Yeah.
Only with other people doing dope. And then you get to the point where I don't trust you.
That's right.
Because if I've been up for a week and I pass out, you're going to steal my dope.
Exactly.
And then I'm going to have to go find you.
It's not fun and games anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get somebody who's got a, gun and go find you or kick your door in or whatever the case may be. Yeah, it's not me.
Yeah.
And I know it's not me. So anyhow, I'm clean, I'm sober about 4, maybe 6 months. So, I talked to my brother. I can't understand him. He's not making any sense.
Whoa.
I've been told he's homeless. He has been homeless for a while, living on the streets in San Antonio. And I'm like, oh, well, if y'all can get him here, I'll send you some money, put him on a bus, make sure he gets on it, and get him to me. I got him.
Nice.
I'm in a position now where I can do that. I'm in no position to do this, Matt. I mean, I'm 4 months clean. I'm living in a sober living home. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know that this is the motion that God is putting in front of me.
That's right.
This is what I know I need to do.
Yes.
So they get him on the bus. I go to pick him up, and the bus unloads, and I don't see him. I don't see him at all. And my brother's got a distinctive look. He looks like Mr. Clean.
Really?
Just a shorter, chubbier version.
So he's bald?
Bald-headed, no facial hair. He's got glasses, bright, piercing blue eyes. Yeah. He had a different father than I did.
Okay.
So he looked like my mother's side of the family, truthfully, and I looked just like my dad.
Okay, yeah.
Anyhow, so I go up to the bus driver, and I said, "Hey, did you happen to pick up a passenger in Kerrville?" He said, "Yeah, that's him right there." This man was a hobo. He was the old homeless man that you see that's filthy dirty, hasn't bathed in months and months and months, is carrying around a shopping cart full of stuff. He didn't have the shopping cart. He was covered in feces and urine, and he stunk, and he was shaking. He could barely walk.
Yeah.
And so I pick him up from the bus stop, and I don't know what to do, so I bring him home because they had given me permission to bring him with me. And I do. I get him cleaned up. I get him some clothes. I cut his hair. And I noticed right away there's something majorly wrong. And I believe that he had an injury, or he was early onset dementia or Alzheimer's, because nothing made sense. His stories were in circles. Man. Nonetheless, after so long, I ended up having to leave the recovery home because they weren't a medical facility. He was having trouble urinating and defecating on himself and things like that. So I scrambled, got an apartment, moved us in, cared for him. He ended up starting to have a series of strokes, which now explains what had happened. He had started having strokes. He ended up going into the ICU. Then the last one, he had came home to him on the floor, dead weight, called an ambulance, and he never came back to me. I ended up putting him in a nursing home. He was cared for wonderfully. He slowly decreased. I got the phone call that he was gonna pass. I contacted his daughter. They had contacted her as well. She drove down. I sent her money to get down here and put her up in a hotel. And slowly, over a couple of days, we sat with him until he passed. It was very peaceful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
That's good. Yeah.
And it was the first time in my life that I experienced the loss of someone I loved dearly.
Yeah.
There was no conditions behind that love. And I was able to be present.
Yeah.
And I was able to be present for her while her daddy died.
Wow.
Because I wasn't able to be present, and nobody was present for me when mine died.
Exactly. Wow.
You know what I mean? I'd cared for my father as he got ill, but I was in addiction, and he realized it toward like the last month of his life.
He realized it.
Well, my father was on peritoneal dialysis, and he had asked me to come home after I got out of treatment. I was in San Antonio, and he asked me to come home to help care for him because his health was declining. This is my hero. This is the strongest man I've ever known. This is all those things. So we have this fantastic relationship because I'm clean now.
Yeah.
And we're talking, and he's my best friend, and I trust him more than anybody in this world. And so when he needed help, you're damn right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whatever you need, Pop, I'm there.
Yeah. Packed
my shit up, went home. I moved into a little apartment behind, it was a garage I converted into an apartment behind his home. And so I could have my own privacy, because I'm in my 40s.
Yeah.
44 at that time. And he slowly deteriorated. Well, as soon as I got home, I never realized just how sick he was. Once I realized that, I immediately relapsed. I immediately relapsed, picked up the needle within weeks of it. I started smoking it, picked up the needle. I was bringing people onto the property that, they're bad people. They're bad people, not trustworthy at all. And I was putting my father and my stepmother in danger. He passed. Right before he passed, he was in bed. I was changing the bags of fluid. It's a different kind of dialysis. They don't actually filter the blood. They fill the body full of fluid, and it filters through the peritoneal wall. And it cleanses the blood that way because the blood flows through that the pancreas that way.
I see.
As well.
Yeah.
I hope I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Nonetheless, and he reached up and he grabbed my arm, and I was high. I was so high. I'd been up for days. I had just done a big shot. Went down there to do it because he was watching TV. I just did my job and left. And he grabbed my arm and he pulled me real close to him and he looked me in the eye. And then he just turned and looked the other way and moved his head slowly. And I knew right then. He knew. He had suspected. He found out. But he was too sick to do anything about it because he'd have fought me tooth and nail. He'd have kicked me out, packed my shit and thrown it in the streets. That's the man he was. It was that tough love. And so the shame, the guilt again, just washed over to me. Pushed me into it. About a week later, he got on a plane. Him and his wife were going to go to Vegas for the last time. He had all his equipment. She knew what to do. They were going to take it with him and just spend a very relaxed weekend in Vegas. And he had a heart attack and passed on the plane.
No,
so they had to land in El Paso and then ship his body back.
Oh, wow.
My stepbrothers stepped up. They stepped. Oh my God. My middle stepbrother he's a saint. He's a good man. He has a beautiful, decent wife, a beautiful son. They're a good family. He's good people.
That's cool.
And he loved my dad because my dad was good to him too. So he really stepped up. And his mom had just lost her husband, and she truly loved my father. I, of course, at that time, I called her my step monster. I couldn't stand her. I wanted to hate her. I really inside couldn't hate her. She loved him. She treated him well. And my first thought when the phone call was given to me to tell me that he had passed by her sister was, oh my God, she watched him die. And my first thought went out to her. There was a insurance claim that I got a small settlement. She knew that what I was going to do with it. They had already known now that I was in the drugs. my stepbrother tried to do an intervention. I was, how dare you? I just lost my dad. Poor pitiful me. And he dropped it. He knew he wasn't getting anywhere. So they tried to prevent me from getting the money. I ended up getting it anyway, and I did exactly what they thought.
You did.
I bought a large sum of drugs. I started up dealing because I was able to do that. So I could keep up my drug use, and I took off to San Antonio and allowed my addiction to progress over the next couple of years until, as I said before, I got caught. Everything brought me to this point. Anyhow, it's the program of recovery of the Narcotics Anonymous 12-step program of recovery that was allowed me to be able to do the things that I've been able to do over this last 3 years.
Yeah, real quick. So
and not get high.
Yeah. So why? So I remember being in meetings and thinking, like, I would see people pick up 10 years, 2 years, 20, whatever, clean time. And some
think
of these
that
people,
it's like, oh my God, that's so long. How do they do that?
Well, that's what I started thinking.
I did that too.
I started thinking, how are they figuring this out and I'm not? Like, why can I not figure this out and they're able to? Like, what's going on here? Like, and it was that thing of I'm super unique, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I have a simple answer for that.
So
they found a God of their understanding, learned how to trust it.
Exactly.
They found a sponsor, attended meetings, and most importantly, they worked the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. See, I would have never found the freedom that I have found had I not did the work that the 12 steps made me do. And I'm still in the process of working the steps, and I'm 3 years clean. But I took my time to be thorough and honest. And I need to pick up my step work, and I need to move along with it. But I'm towards the very end of it. But I've allowed myself to grow. I've allowed myself the ability to change. I've allowed myself to let go of the things that I've been carrying and the pain and the hurt and all those other things that we've spoken about quite a bit, or I've spoken about quite a bit today, and just be rid of them. Because in a way, fear, of course, drove every decision I ever made. Fear of being found out. Fear of being caught. Fear of having to let go, fear of not knowing who I was anymore. Fear of if I stood in front of you and stripped down of all the shields and the layers of everything that I fed people to make them think I was this kind of a way or enjoy me or like me more or whatever the case may be, that they wouldn't like what they saw. The big change was I didn't care anymore. Do I want people to like me? I think that's human. Do I care if they don't? No, that's their choice.
How did you arrive at that though? How did you get? It was really your higher power, probably.
It was my higher power, and it was me reaching out through prayer and through meditation and listening to him speak to me through people and situations, and then by doing the next right thing and trusting in that no matter what happens, it's what's meant for me to have. I've got the new job. I was able to buy a decent, nice car. I was able to progress in my employment and be promoted, and I make a decent living, and I'm helping people on a daily basis, and it's fulfilling this need that all the accolades couldn't fulfill. And it's just because I just truly got over of my life turning out the way it was turning out. Nothing like I had planned it. Nothing what I wanted for myself was happening.
In the beginning of the interview, you said that you were 49 or something like that, and you felt like it was too late for you. So what would you tell somebody, the struggling addict out there who maybe is a little older and they feel like it's too late for me, I'm hopeless, there's no chance, like what could you tell them?
There's no such thing as pure hopelessness. Hopelessness is, I've experienced it, I know it's there, but if I'm really honest, deep down, just desiring to have something be different. That's hope.
Okay,
and it's maybe small, and you may need to fan the flames to grow it into something more intense that makes you take a step forward in a direction that you've never done. And it's about facing fear. It's about not giving up on yourself. I mean, I truly gave up on myself, but I knew I was capable. I knew somehow, some way, this could happen. And I knew it because I had seen evidence in the room of people who had, I'm close friends with a gentleman who has 37 years clean.
Wow.
And he comes to meetings daily almost. You know, I had to realize that I was going to be an addict for the rest of my life. And in order for me to really gain freedom from my addiction, I needed to be in recovery for the rest of my life. There was no finish line. There was no end point. End point is in the grave.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you know what? My clean date won't be on my tombstone. Come hell or high water, I'm not going to die dirty.
Oh, no, yeah.
As long as I can do the things that I've learned how to do. Now, tomorrow isn't guaranteed or promised.
Right, yeah.
I only have today, so I try to live for today. Do I plan or do I make goals for the future? Of course I do. If I don't, then I have nothing to work towards.
Exactly, yeah.
However, I don't hang my hat on that, and I don't live in the past, because then I can't be present for if I'm worried about the future and I'm regretting the past, I'm not living in today, and I'm missing everything around me. And if I can do it, you can do it.
That's right.
That's it.
That's
it.
Yeah.
If those addicts that I witnessed could do it, I knew I could do it. And really one of the things that was a pivotal change for me in the rooms, and I know this doesn't happen for everybody, and this was something that I think was so special that I know my higher power did for me. I had a friend that I had used with here in town, and I loved him dearly. He was a close friend. And I had gotten sent off. I had gotten busted and sent off. He was still in his addiction. So I'm doing my thing and I'm focusing on myself and I'm trying to really get myself together. I have no idea what's going on with him. Then somebody had told me shortly right before I came back that he had went to jail and chose to get clean. This guy, I was like, there's no way he's clean. There's no way. And I won't name names. He's well known and he actually worked with me now.
Okay.
I walked into the rooms. This is shortly after July the 4th. And after I got my sponsor, and I walked into a meeting and he was sitting across the room.
Wow. Yeah.
That was God.
That's crazy.
That was God telling me right then and there. I mean, just those things happen, those aha moments. They just happen.
Yeah.
They do happen.
Yeah.
Like when you found out that this was a calling for you.
Right, yeah.
You know, you're good at this. This is a great podcast.
Thank you.
I watch it.
Thank you so much.
I follow it.
That means a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Seeing him, and I truly had that thought, man, if this son of a bitch can get clean,
yeah, exactly,
and stay clean, and he was months cleaner. He had months, like 6 months
he had more
than
clean
me.
time than you,
He had more clean time than me, because I had gotten out and started drinking. If he can do it, I know I can do it. And then we rooted for each other and we encouraged each other. And then we built this relationship and friendship on, you know what, I'm going to tell you when you're fucking up. And you tell me when I'm fucking up.
That is special.
You know, and those are all of my friends.
Yeah.
Everybody in my place. Great. And I would include you in that.
Yeah, I love that.
If you need to look at me because you see something that's off.
Yeah.
And saying, bro, what the fuck's going on with you? Exactly. What the hell's going on with you? And I don't, you need to do something.
Yeah.
I expect the people in my life that I choose to have in my life to feel free to do so. And if I have made them feel like they can't because either I can't handle it or they fear losing me as a friend, that's on me.
Yeah, that's right.
And I need to fix something.
Yeah.
So I let them know. And my friends do that.
That's
my
cool.
friends realize when I fall into
that.
depression, because I still, you can take the dope away from me, but all of the other things, I'm still an untreated addict without the dope. I need to treat the disease of addiction. And that is working on myself, being honest with myself, putting those things on paper, giving them away to my God, moving forward.
Yeah.
Someone's here.
So lastly, what are 3 things that you're just genuinely grateful for right now in your life?
My recovery.
Nice.
My God.
Yeah.
And the base of people who support me and want to see me build, my friendships and those I choose to have around me today. because without them, and well, there's got to be 4 because
That's fine. Yeah.
the program of Narcotics
Yeah.
Anonymous. You know what? If you can quit using and quit drinking without working a 12-step program, it says it in the big book of AA. My hat's off to you.
Right. Yeah.
I was not that
That's
fortunate.
right. Yeah.
I couldn't do that. So I'm a true addict to my core.
Yep.
Anything that feels good, I'm going to do it a whole bunch until I can't do it anymore. So if you can be honest with yourself, find a God, work a program if that's what you need to do. And there are completely faith-based programs.
Yeah,
like
I love
CR.
that. Yeah, CR's
CR
great.
is a beautiful program.
It is.
And I have quite a few friends that are in it right now working a program. If you can do that for yourself, just like I did it for myself, you have a chance of successfully changing your life into something that you never even dreamed could be possible. I know it because I've experienced it. And those are the things I'm grateful for.
Well said.
Honestly,
Well said.
it's not the material things.
Yeah.
It's not all that. It's not the clothes or the car or the house or the furnishings or the money or the prestige. It's none of that. I don't want any of that anymore.
Yeah.
I just want to be Justin. I just want to stay clean.
Exactly.
I want to be of service.
Dude, wonderful. Thank you so much for
You're
this.
so welcome.
This was
Matt.
so great,
Thank
man.
you for
Yes.
bringing me on and
This was
asking me to
amazing.
do this. Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
honored. Like when you asked me, I was like, really?
Oh, yeah,
I was
dude.
like, okay, Justin, calm down.
Oh, I was so
calm
glad,
down.
man.
Yeah,
'cause
because
knew
I
it'd be
got in my
good.
whole, oh, I'm someone special now. And I
You
had to
are,
realize,
man.
well, I'm an addict in recovery.
Yeah.
My name is Justin. That's
Exactly.
it.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thank you guys for watching. Take care. Dude, that was great. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate your support. Thank you, Justin, my friend, for coming in, for telling your incredible story. I hope somebody out there finds inspiration from that. It's